Chapter 2, Matter, Physical Properties. A physical property is a characteristic of a material that can be observed or measured without changing the composition of the substance of the material. They include viscosity, conductivity, malleability, hardness, melting point, boiling point, and density. Viscosity is the tendency of a liquid to keep flowing. The thicker the liquid, the higher the viscosity. For conductivity, material's ability to allow heat to flow through it. Malleability, the ability of a solid to be hammered without shattering. Melting point, temperature at which a substance changes from solid to liquid. Boiling point, the temperature at which a substance boils. And density, ratio of the mass of a substance to its volume. Viscosity, conductivity, and malleability. The greater the viscosity, the slower the liquid moves. Viscosity of a liquid usually decreases as it is heated. Materials that have high conductivity are usually good conductors of electricity as well. Metal is highly conductive and wood is not. Most metals are malleable, but solids that shatter when struck are brittle. The following images illustrate viscosity, conductivity, and malleability. For viscosity, thick liquids such as corn syrup or the honey shown here have high viscosity. Thin liquids like vinegar have low viscosity. Conductivity, in this case, metal is a really good conductor, which is why we tend not to use metal tools when we're cooking. And if we have a pot that has a metal handle, we usually have to use a pot holder in order to keep it still, because if we touched it with our bare hands, we would get burnt. For malleability, that is the ability to bend, in this case, boiling points and density. To test hardness between materials, see which one can scratch the other. Diamonds are the hardest known substance and are often included in cutting tools. Water freezes at 0 degrees and it boils at 100 degrees at sea level. Density can be used to test the purity of a substance. At room temperature, silver has a density of 10.5 grams per cubic centimeter. If a coin has a density of 9.9 grams per cubic centimeter, either it's not made of silver or there are additional substances in it. The following images are examples of physical changes. They're certainly not limited to this group. In fact, one of your questions is about sharpening a pencil and how does that have physical changes. For the density of a substance, that's the relationship between the mass of the substance and how much space it actually takes up, or its volume. Using properties to identify materials. Number 1, decide which properties to test. 2, test a sample of an unknown material. And number 3, compare the results with the data associated with known materials. Physical properties are used to identify a material, choose a material for specific purposes, or to separate the substances in a mixture. Filtration and dilation are 2 separation methods and physical changes. Filtration is a process that separates materials based on the size of their particles. Distillation is a process that separates substances in a solution based on their boiling points. The following images illustrate filtration and distillation methods. For filtration, the drip method of brewing coffee also uses a filter to separate brewed coffee from coffee grounds. And in distillation, that can be used to convert seawater into fresh water. The water is heated until it changes from a liquid to a gas. That gas is then cooled and it's changed back to a liquid as it cools, which is collected in a separate container. Boiling can separate fresh water from seawater because the water has a much lower boiling point than the compounds that are dissolved in the seawater. These compounds are left behind in the original container and are made mostly of salts in this case. A physical change occurs when some of the properties of the material change, but the substances in the material are actually still the same. For example, if you slowly heat a pat of butter in a pan, it changes from a solid to a liquid form, but it's still butter. Some physical changes can be reversed. For instance, you can freeze water, melt it, and then freeze it again. Please review the video to find the answers for these 7 questions. You can also check your textbook. Again, number 7 was not included from the critical thinking section. Number 8 in your textbook is your number 7 for your assignment, and I am not including number 9 in this either. Number 1, list 7 examples of physical properties. Number 2, describe 3 uses of physical properties. Number 3, name 2 processes that are used to separate mixtures. Number 4, when you describe a liquid as thick, are you saying that it has a high or low viscosity? Number 5, explain why sharpening a pencil is an example of a physical change. Number 6, what allows a mixture to be separated by distillation? And number 7, why would you expect the materials used to make pot holders to be poor conductors of heat? Be careful answering these questions. Make sure that you're doing it thoughtfully and thoroughly. And these are the basis of your mastery checks for this section as well.